Namaste, everybody. So wonderful to have this opportunity to share sacred time with all of you. This is questions and answers today. And I'm honored that you're taking the time to join me today. And you have an opportunity to ask all your questions about Ayurveda and yoga. And I will do my very, very best in order to answer your questions. As some of you are still logging in and coming online, as we're waiting for everybody to come in and start to collect your questions, I thought I'd begin today with talking just a little bit about taking care of your immune system. And this is such an important topic today that we do take proper care of our immune system. It's an important topic every day, but it's particularly important these days as everybody has in their mind COVID-19 and as we move into the winter season, the flu, and nobody wants to get sick, and it's important to stay well. So I thought I'd begin with a few tips in order to boost up your immune system. And what does your immune system really mean? Perhaps we should start with that. Your immune system means that part of you that is able to resist disease. Whenever it comes down to any infection or any illness, there's always two factors. There's the virulence of the pathogen, and that means how strong is that germ that wants to affect your body. And the other part of the equation is host resistance. How strong are you and your ability to protect yourself against any kind of an infection? If you're strong and the pathogen is weak, you have no problem because you'll be able to fight off the infection. If you do get sick, you get sick for a short period of time and you get over it quickly. If the pathogen is very strong and your host resistance, your immune system is weak, well, then you're going to get very, very sick. And in addition to all of that, you could have a weak pathogen and still have a weak immune system, and you could still get very, very sick from it. We see that a lot of times with people at the end of their lives where they contract a virus or a bacteria that normally you can fight off, but toward the end of life, your body is so weak, your immune system's so weak, you're not able to fight it off. So let's talk about boosting host resistance for a minute, and I'm going to give you a few tips to boost host resistance. Tip number one is make sure you get enough rest. If you don't get enough rest, your body doesn't have a chance to recharge, and your immune system needs that. Your white blood cells in your body are an important part of your immune system. They require rest. Your adrenal glands are an important part of your immune system. They require rest. In fact, all your organs and all of your tissues require rest. Different ways that you can rest. One way that you can rest is to get a good night's sleep and make sure you're sleeping well. Another important way to rest is to make sure you don't overwork yourself. Even if you overwork yourself, if you overwork yourself and you get a good night's sleep, just by overworking yourself, you'll run down your immune system and you won't be able to fight it off. So that's tip number one, make sure you get enough rest. Tip number two is going to be to make sure you have a healthy diet. And a healthy diet, according to Ayurveda, are foods that are appropriate to your constitution. They are the foods that you're going to best be able to digest and to best return your body to a state of balance. And balance is homeostasis. Homeostasis is the full balance of all of the physiological processes in your body, and that supports your immune system, and it's dependent upon a healthy diet. And a healthy diet is different for each person, dependent upon your constitution. And as Vaidehi just asked about the six tastes, the six tastes are sweet, sour, salty, bitter, pungent, and astringent. And depending upon your constitution, each person needs a different amount of those six tastes. And it's not just your constitution. It's also the nature of the imbalance. So in Ayurveda, we understand there is prakriti, which is your innate, inborn constitution. Come into this world with it, determines your tendencies. And then there's what's going on in you right now, and that's your vikruti. And you actually have to eat more according to your vikruti. And so you have to understand the nature of the imbalance. And then the diet can be prescribed according to the six tastes in a way that'll balance the current state of doshas in your body or your vikruti. So tip number two, make sure that you eat properly. All right. Tip number three to build up your immune system is going to be to make sure that you not only are able to take the proper foods, but you're able to digest them well. If you're not digesting your food well, your immune system cannot be well. Ayurveda says that your health begins in your digestive system. And so it's very important for you to digest your food well. If you're having any kind of digestive imbalance like constipation, loose stools, bloating, cramping, chances are your immune system is going to be weakened as well. So you got to eat the right foods, you got to digest them properly, and you have to get a healthy night's sleep, or at least plenty of rest, and not overwork yourself. Those are three very important tips that'll keep your immune system healthy. There's so much more, of course, we can talk about, and I've done videos on YouTube that you'll be able to search on your immune system that go into more detail. Now, I want to remind everybody that you can type in your questions. I have staff standing by. They are going to be writing down your questions, and then I'll be taking your questions, and I'll be reading them here on the air, and then also doing my best to answer them. You can ask me anything about Ayurveda. You can ask me anything about yoga, and you can ask me anything about me if you'd like. I'll answer just about any question you ask. All right, let's start with some of the questions that have come in. So the first question is, my girlfriend is suffering from a condition called neuropathy and looking for alternative ways to treat it. What can you recommend? Well, there are different kinds of neuropathy. When most people say neuropathy, they mean peripheral neuropathy. And this is the numbness and tingling and pain that sometimes happens going down the arms or going down the legs. Sciatica is a good example. Carpal tunnel is a good example. These are different types of peripheral neuropathy. Ayurveda can absolutely help people with these conditions because Ayurveda has targeted medicines in order to affect the nervous system. Depending upon the dosha that is involved, usually with peripheral neuropathy, vata dosha is the principal dosha that is disturbed. That's what's causing the numbness, the tingling, and the pain. But there can be inflammation that can be pretty intense, and that inflammation is due to pitta dosha. So sometimes it's a vata pitta condition. The medicines will be prepared a little differently depending upon the dosha that we determine is going to be problematic in a situation like that. In addition to the herbal medicines that are used to pacify the dosha, of course, diet will be prescribed. Proper lifestyle will be prescribed, which almost universally means resting the area that is exacerbated. So if you have carpal tunnel, even if you take all the right medicines and you follow the right diet, you're still going to have to rest your wrists for a while in order to allow the area to heal. Same thing with same thing with sciatica. You'll have to rest your lower back area. So rest is going to be an important part of the treatment. In addition to all of that, sometimes there are pastes that we make in Ayurveda that we can put on the affected area. Some of those pastes, these are herbal pastes, and an herbal paste is powdered herbs that are then mixed with oil to prepare into a paste. Sometimes other wetting agents are used as well, but they'll probably involve some oil and maybe some rose water, different types of wetting agents. And they're going to be put onto the area that's being affected. Sometimes they're covered up after they're pasted onto the body. These act as pain relievers, as anti-inflammatory agents, and they also support the tissue to heal itself. So that's a pretty important part of the treatment. So you've got to imagine you're going to be getting pastes put onto your area that is affected. You're going to be taking some medicine internally as well. Again, anti-inflammatory, pain relieving, and it's going to enhance the healing of particularly that dhatu. I'll use another word from Ayurveda here, that dhatu, that tissue. In this case, it is majja dhatu, which is the nervous system. So that nerve tissue and peripheral neuropathy is being affected. Herbs that come to mind that are sometimes beneficial that we'll put into these medicines include ashwagandha and include nirgundi. And so those are just a couple of medicines that are sometimes applied. A Western medicine that's sometimes applied is St. John's wort. These can be added to pastes and also taken internally. There's so many more treatments. Sometimes we'll use marma therapy. Marma is referring to the 107 points in the body that are connecting points for the various tissues in the body, the doshas in the body, and the nadi of the body. Another word there from Ayurveda and yoga, nadi. These are the subtle connections to the nerves. And so we'll use specific oils on these points, massage them in, and they can enhance the healing of the tissue as well. So that's going to be another important part of the treatment. So yes, Ayurveda can certainly help patients with peripheral neuropathy, and I hope that answered your question. Next question. Can Yoga Nidra help people with adrenal fatigue and dizziness? Yoga Nidra is in fact one of the very best treatments for adrenal fatigue. Adrenal fatigue is exhaustion. Adrenal fatigue is when you have worked too hard. Adrenal fatigue is when you've been under stress for too long. The adrenal glands just can't keep up. They produce important hormones that get amplified when you're under a lot of stress, and they just can't put out those hormones forever. And so they get fatigued, and then they're unable to maintain the homeostatic balance. And then you get sick as a result. And some of the symptoms of adrenal fatigue is being fatigued in general, but it can contribute to inflammatory conditions. It can contribute to autoimmune conditions. It can contribute to just about any condition. When people are fatigued in their adrenal glands, even if they get sick, they don't heal very fast. So it's particularly important to heal yourself from adrenal fatigue. Dizziness can be a symptom of that, but there's many, many causes of dizziness. So I don't want to say that all dizziness is caused by adrenal fatigue. But for treating adrenal fatigue, Yoga Nidra is one of the very, very best treatments that you can do. So I highly, highly recommend it. And I created a recording you can download called Yoga Nidra and Self-Healing. And that would be an excellent recording to take you through the meditation of Yoga Nidra that will lead you to activate your own body's ability to heal itself. It will restore your rest. It will help heal your adrenal gland. But more than that, you could use it, for instance, also for peripheral neuropathy or just about any other condition. So I think that's all very important. Welcome, Jill. I see that you've checked in there. And cortisol levels, dopamine levels can all be disturbed as a result of adrenal fatigue. In fact, anything that affects your emotions can affect your dopamine levels. And when you're in a state of adrenal fatigue, you're also more likely to be depressed. And in fact, some are depressed. Others actually have mood swings. And so you can be anxious and you can be depressed. So stabilizing yourself through healing the adrenal glands through Yoga Nidra, extremely important. But adrenal fatigue, actually, to heal that in the long term, in addition to Yoga Nidra, a healthy diet, a healthy lifestyle, and the proper digestion of the foods. In Ayurveda, we have a class of both foods and herbs that are called rasayanas, and these are herbs that build doshas. Anything that builds ojas actually helps the adrenal fatigue. So what is called adrenal fatigue in the West is low ojas in Ayurveda, and they go hand in hand with each other. So I think that's an important part. Yes, that's right, Jill. Time in nature as well. If you spend time in nature, you're going to be able to re-inspire the healing within you. It gives you a rest from the sensory overload of the city. So most definitely spend time in nature during your healing. All right, let's go to the next question. Can you recommend what form of meditation would be more suitable for an individual based on doshic imbalances? That is a really interesting question. Well, first of all, a study was done on different forms of meditation to find out if they were, which form of meditation is most effective. Would it be Yoga Nidra? Would it be mantra meditation? Would it be mindfulness meditation? What they found out is that the most effective form of meditation was actually the first type of meditation that a person was exposed to. In other words, the meditation that inspired you first is the one that becomes the most effective one for you. So they really couldn't say that one was better than another. But what about the doshas? Well, from a theoretical perspective, based on the doshas, an active form of meditation would be better for kapha dosha. So for instance, going for a walking meditation, if you wanted to pacify kapha dosha, could be better than doing for instance, a more sitting, grounding meditation or a Yoga Nidra. But it's never really that simple. And the reason it's never really that simple is because meditation is complicated. And there are different things that you do inside meditation that affects the subtle energies of your body. So for instance, in meditation, some people are focused on Ajna chakra, which is right here. When you're focused on Ajna chakra, your energy goes up, and that's going to balance kapha dosha, even when you're in a seated meditation, even when you're being still. There are other meditations, for instance, when you focus on Manipura chakra, which is the third chakra, the fire chakra in the solar plexus that can enhance the fire and is beneficial for both vata and for kapha doshas, because the fire tends to be either irregular or low in those individuals. So when we talk about meditation, it's really hard to say what form of meditation is best for each dosha. Really, I would work with a teacher who understands the doshas and can prescribe the best meditation for you based upon your health, as well as the dosha that is disturbed and your prakriti, the overall constitution. The next question is, how do you address anxiety and depression from an Ayurvedic point of view? Do you have any tips? Well, I've already touched on that a little bit. And, when it comes to managing anxiety from an Ayurvedic perspective, anxiety is due to a vata dosha imbalance. The question went on and was wondering, actually, I think it was another person was wondering if anxiety be related to pitta dosha, but no, it tends to be most related to vata dosha. It's excess motion in the mind and excess motion in the nervous system, and this tends to be due to vata dosha. So everything that pacifies vata dosha is necessary to bring balance to anxiety and when it comes to depression, depression's kind of interesting because a low-grade depression can be caused by kapha dosha. A severe depression tends to be due to vata dosha. And so let me explain that a little bit more. People with a kapha nature are prone to melancholy. And melancholy is just sort of like uninspired, a little bit low energy, not highly motivated, but not a deep, dark depression. That tends to be due to kapha nature. It's due to the heavy, cloudy, dull qualities of kapha dosha when it's aggravated. Deep, dark depressions, those are due really to vata dosha. What happens with vata dosha is that at first vata dosha rises and people get anxious, and then it tends to dry out the ojas of the body. And when the ojas of the body dries out, the stability of the body is lost. The stability of the mind is lost. When the stability of the mind is lost, the prana falls. It just plummets. And when prana plummets, depression occurs. And that's the dark depression that occurs for people. That's the one that makes you not want to get out of bed. That's the one that can cause you to contemplate ending your life. It's that really dark depression. So in situations like that, ojas has to be rebuilt. And as we rebuild ojas for those deep, dark depressions, we're pacifying vata dosha. And that's really very important. So stability comes first in that case. So yes, Ayurveda can help anxiety. Ayurveda can certainly help depression as well. The next question is, what is the best substitute for ghee if you're vegan? Well, that's a good question. We love ghee in Ayurveda. Ghee builds ojas. In fact, some people would consider ghee to be liquid ojas. It's that good as long as you can digest it. It is the essence of the milk, and the milk itself is building to ojas. So yes, so many Ayurvedic recipes utilize ghee. If you want to build ojas, ghee is wonderful. It stabilizes your agni as well. In fact, ghee is interesting because it has some unique properties. When you cook it with particular spices, it'll enhance the qualities of those spices. So actually, ghee can be good for any of the doshas if it's prepared with the right spices. You can have a vata ghee, pitta ghee, kapha ghee called gritta. Gritta is the medicated ghee that has been cooked with a variety of herbs. Now, is there a substitute for ghee? Well, not really, not one that will do everything that ghee can do, but you can still get all the benefits of ghee in other ways. You can build your ojas, for instance, with sesame oil. Sesame oil is a wonderful oil. It also builds ojas. It doesn't change its characteristics quite as easily with everything that it's cooked with, but it also does change its characteristics. So sesame oil is probably the next best substitute. In general, sesame oil is more warm to your body and to your mind than ghee. Ghee tends to be cooling to your body and mind. Better for pitta, sesame oil, better for vata. But again, if you prepare them with the right spices, then they become better for the dosha. So both of them really could be used to treat any dosha if it's prepared properly. those are probably the two most malleable oils. And so if we talk about substituting them, I don't know if we could substitute them, but they're closer maybe than some of the other ones would be. And, you know, because you're a vegan, you don't want to have the ghee. I understand that. You could certainly be healthy without it. I get that question all the time. Can you practice Ayurveda and be a vegan? Absolutely, you could practice Ayurveda and be a vegan. There is so much more to Ayurveda than having to take milk products, because Ayurveda does emphasize the milk products. Okay, so there's so much more to Ayurveda than that. All right. Let's see, another question here. I would like to know what recommendations you have in Ayurveda for hypothyroidism. Paloma, for hypothyroidism begins as a vata imbalance and ends as a kapha imbalance. So it begins as a vata imbalance. Usually it's an autoimmune condition attacking the thyroid gland. And during that period of time, a person goes into hyperthyroidism for a period of time, sometimes a long period of time, sometimes a short period of time, prior to going into hypothyroidism after the gland has been damaged. The sooner we can treat the person, the better. So because it starts as hyperthyroidism, that will help you to understand that it typically starts out as a vata pitta condition, which is what causes hyperthyroidism and then burns out the thyroid gland, leading to low energy, and it looks just like kapha. So in that situation, we say that vata has pushed kapha out of balance. It looks like kapha. Many of the treatments are going to be directed to kapha dosha, but you also have to treat the vata dosha, which is going to be at the root of it. In other words, rest is essential even in hypothyroidism, where the energy is very low, because you have to balance that vata dosha. And if you don't rest, you just keep pushing yourself, and the thyroid gland will never be able to heal. And those individuals with that vata pitta imbalance are finding they have the most difficult time resting. Okay, so rest is really essential. And with that rest, there's so many deep ways to rest in Ayurveda. Yoga Nidra was mentioned before. Some of the body therapy treatments are outstanding to give your body a deep rest. Abhyanga, Shirodhara, Swedana for bringing some heat and oil into the body. Really, really wonderful. Okay, really, really wonderful ways to rest. So I think that's particularly important. And that deep rest is essential. And with that person who has the hyperthyroidism that then becomes hypothyroidism, usually their adrenal glands are weak too, because again, that's the low ojas. So we have to build the ojas back in order to stabilize the functioning of the thyroid gland. Now, in order to do that, that brings us back to the digestive system, because you can't heal the body unless the digestive system is going to be working well. So we have to help the digestive system to work well, which means taking in the proper foods for your Vikriti and also digesting them properly. You can't digest them properly if your lifestyle is out of balance. That's one of the main keys to healthy digestion. So we're going to work with a person with hypothyroidism. We want to know in Ayurveda, what is the Nidana? What does that mean, Nidana? Nidana means that we want to understand what's going on in a person's life that is causing the hypothyroidism. What's damaging the thyroid gland? In other words, where's the stress in your life coming from? Is there a problem at work? Is there a problem in the relationship? Is there a problem maybe that has just been carried over for many decades because of your upbringing? Maybe there's internal anger, maybe there's internal anxiety, but there's something going on at the root, and we have to address that as well. In Ayurveda, we always understand, and Jill made another wonderful comment there, Ayurvedic is so holistic. In Ayurveda, we understand that disease actually has its origins, its seed at the level of consciousness. It then germinates into the mind, and we see the disturbance in the mind, and only then does it affect the body. Usually with our deepest diseases, that's going to be the path it takes. So the healing is to address the body, absolutely. There are going to be pastes that we could put on the thyroid gland. There's going to be medicines that we could take internally that can help the thyroid gland. One that comes to mind, for instance, in hypothyroidism is Guggulu, and a form of Guggulu called Yogaraj Guggulu, Kachana Guggulu, All of these gugulus can be effective. They're designed for different presentations, but they're all good for this condition. So we have to treat the body, but we also have to recognize that we have to address the stress in the mind. And in addition to the stress in the mind, well, we also have to address consciousness, which is why yoga is so important. Yoga is an important part of Ayurveda. We understand in Ayurveda that we have to cultivate sattva if we want to be well. Sattva means clarity and purity of the mind, clarity and purity of the body. And we have to build ojas. And the combination of building ojas and cultivating sattva, these are the two keys to healing almost all conditions, in addition to targeting the actual disease itself with the herbal medicines and the proper diet and lifestyle. All right, so many wonderful questions that are coming in, and I know I'm not going to be able to get to them all. What is Ayurveda? Andrea wants to know, what does Ayurveda have to say about Alzheimer's disease? Oh my gosh. You know, so many of our elders suffer from Alzheimer's and dementia. And so we need to be able to talk about it and address it. We don't have that much time here, but I think it's an important subject. Suffice it to say that Alzheimer's disease, as most dementias, is a deterioration of the tissues within the brain. And that's the simplest way to say it. There's specific areas of the brain that are going to be affected. So therefore, the treatment then is to try and either slow down the degeneration or to heal the degeneration. Those are the two things that we want to do in Ayurveda. And we absolutely can do that, and we can participate in that. We have, for instance, herbs that increase the circulation to the tissues in the brain. We also have herbs that nourish the tissues in the brain. And going back to ghee, and there was more questions about ghee that I didn't get to, ghee is actually considered to be the greatest source of nourishment for the brain. A lot of people don't realize that so much of the brain tissue is made of fat, and ghee is the very best fat to nourish the brain tissue. Not that you can't do it with other oils, but it is considered to be the best. There's a ghee called Brahmi ghee. Brahmi ghee is made from Bacopa monnieri. Bacopa is an important herb in Ayurveda. It's called Brahmi because it has divine qualities, which means that it clears the mind so that you're able to have a deeper connectedness to an awareness of everything, including your surroundings, but also of the divine. So Brahmi ghee is really, really quite remarkable and a wonderful medicine. It's so good, in fact, that not only do we take it off the teaspoon into the mouth, but we melt it and we drop it into the nasal passages, and it's breathed up into the sinuses so that it can be absorbed that way as well. So I think that's particularly important. And this will really help with Alzheimer's. But there's really so much more to talk about. I don't want to pretend that I've just given you a complete plan, but it should give you an idea of how we approach it in Ayurveda. Because it is degenerative, that's also due to Vata dosha. It shouldn't surprise you that Vata dosha is responsible for the most diseases of any of the doshas in the body. In fact, maybe twice as many diseases as Pitta dosha, which is responsible for twice as many diseases as Kapha dosha. So I think that's really important to understand. And so Vaidehi wants to know how to get in touch with me. You can get in touch with me anytime you'd like. I can't promise a quick response, but my email address is drh, D as in Dr., R as in Robert, H as in Henry, drh, that's Dr. H, Dr. Halpern, at ayurvedacollege.com. And you can also go to our website, which is ayurvedacollege.com, and take a look at our website. You can contact the school directly at info@ayurvedacollege.com. Many of you already know this too, but I conduct an online Facebook group with ongoing conversations, ongoing discussions, and ongoing posts. And it's called Ayurveda, Yoga Nidra, and Yoga Therapy with Dr. Marc Halpern. And I invite you to check that out as well on Facebook. It's a good way for us to stay connected. So many questions, and we're just not going to be able to get to them today. We're really at that point now where we're supposed to end, but I'm going to try to choose one more from the many that are in front of me. So let me just take a look and see. Let's see here. What treatments are there for scabies and mites? Scabies and mites affect the skin. and particularly the hairy areas of the skin, scabies and mites. And so one of the things that we can do with that is there's a wonderful oil called neem oil, and you want to make sure it's the essential oil that you use. It's not the, you'll see neem oil also sometimes mixed with sesame oil. I'm not talking about that. That's used for massage too. It's wonderful for the skin, but you need something stronger. And so you want to use neem essential oil. And you want to use it directly onto the skin. It's really, really wonderful, and it'll help with scabies and mites and any kind of an infection on the skin. So that is particularly beneficial. It does have a strong odor. Be aware of that, but it will take care of it. Some people use other oils. I find that the neem oil is really particularly effective. But if you want to, you can also drop essential oils of tea tree oil into the neem oil, and the combination probably even better. So I think that's something that you can also use. All right, I want to thank you all so much for the opportunity to talk with you today. It truly was a blessing to share this sacred time with all of you. And I look forward to our next time together. We do this from time to time. Also, check out the videos on YouTube. I hope you like them. And subscribe to our channel. And I look forward to spending some more time with you as we go forward through this journey of life together. Many blessings to all of you. Namaste.